Okay, so hello everyone. Hello. I'm so glad that you guys are able to join us for tonight. We haven't been here for a while. We've been on a bit of a hiatus because we've been working on elections. We've been working on building our community. But we're here tonight and we have a really great show for you guys. We want you to chime in on any questions, comments, or ideas that you may have. I think you're really going to enjoy the lineup that we have set up for you. And we'll be back in a few short moments. So here we go. Okay, so welcome one, welcome all. And again, I'm so glad that you guys can be with us. I'm just checking if you bear with me on my Facebook to make sure that you guys are here with us. I without any delay, I want to go right into a special person that is joining us tonight that I just cannot wait to allow you guys to meet. Okay. Okay. So I got a message. I'm not sure what that is, but hold on for a second. Okay. So guys, you got to work with me here. Just work with me. Somebody sent me a message and this person is actually on with us tonight. So I got to just check my message. Sorry guys. I appreciate your patience. Just share the show, type in any questions that you may have. Okay, great. Okay, great. So we're going to bring on a few people that have joined us. Tonight's show is basically about inclusivity. We've seen a lot of things happen recently, and Newark as a whole has not been a part of those things, of those conversations, of these decisions that are being made. So we want to make sure that we have somebody tonight in this show representative for each and every ward. And we're going to just start off on that note. So we're going to first bring on Marilise. I don't know if Marilise is with us. Marilise, are you here? We're going to bring Marilise on. Hello, Marilise. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Thank you. Listen, I'm so glad that you can make it with us tonight. We have some really important questions. And let me make sure I'm centered here. Some really important questions that's going to build our community and make sure that our community is inclusive, not just the people who are on the show, but the people who are actually participatory in the listening audience that are here in that way. So Marilise, thank you. And what ward are you representing tonight?
North
Ward. Great. Okay, so the next person we're going to bring on is Quadera. Quadera, are you with us? Let's see, is Quadera here with us yet? Quadera, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, and it's Kadira.
Kadira, yes. I'm so sorry, beautiful. I'm so sorry. Kadira?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Kadira. I got it going. Awesome. Okay, so Kadira is with us. And Kadira, what ward are you representing this evening?
I am based in the West Ward.
West Ward. Fantastic. Now we need somebody from the South Ward, right? We can't not have somebody from the South Ward. So let's see if Che Coulter, are you here with us? Che Coulter, are you here with us? Let's see. I don't know if Che is with us yet. Che, if you're here, let us know. If you're here, let us know. So without we're gonna wait for some other people to pop on too. But so far, we're just gonna start with and Che and Kadira, if you're here, if you guys can turn your cameras on, please do so. But we're going to start with Marilise. Marilise, just tell us, what are your thoughts about Newark, and how do you? What are some things that you would like to see addressed, even if it's just one? What is one thing that you would like to see addressed?
Well, we definitely need people to be more educated on the issues, and a lot of people are sitting back and complaining about what's going on.
Okay, what do you mean?
Are we still here?
You're frozen. Well, you're not frozen anymore, so that's cool. Okay,
Um,
so yeah. So, what are some things that you would like to see addressed in our community?
so I would like for people to be more educated on the issues that are going on right now. Um, for example, not to just follow the trends that are going on because the TV says so. I would like people to know and be aware of what's going on with the education, what's going on with the family, what's going on with everything. There's so many layers and so many things that are going on right now that I feel people are not connecting with that they should be connecting with. Um,
Absolutely.
from diet to food to sleeping to education.
Right, right. So many things. So
Uh,
we're gonna definitely touch on some of those things tonight. And I want to apologize to the guest as well as the listening audience because it seems like every single time we have a show set up, that's why it's so frustrating. There's always something that happens in terms of technology. So for just no reason at all, my computer screen that I always use wasn't functional, but that's okay because we're gonna have a great show. We have a great lineup tonight, and we're gonna move forward accordingly. So with that being said, and again, we have a list, we have a host of things that we're gonna discuss to get the community's input on it because I often see when people come down, their voice is not always heard. Some people express concerns, and all they hear is next. And we really find out about a lot of the decisions that have already been made after they've been made through newspaper articles and stuff. So we're going to talk about some of that this evening as well. Kadera, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. And Che, are you with us? Okay, we're going to take Che out until we see what's going on with brother Che. I'm sure he'll be back soon. I don't want to leave anybody out. I have a couple of people that I want you guys to meet tonight. So let's start with Kadera. Are you able to turn your camera on?
I'm not. I am just finding out about this, so I am prepared for bed, but I am here still.
Oh,
I'm sorry for not having my camera on.
oh no, no, no. It's okay. It's not a problem. But so I'm gonna just let you as a West Ward right. You're representing for the West Ward. You a West Ward resident.
Yes, absolutely. That's where I live.
Yeah. So what are some concerns that you have in the West Ward? And like I said, I'll still leave you on, but we're gonna have a few people to come on to talk to us about a few things. So what are some concerns that you have?
Okay, yes. Immediately when I moved to the West Ward, I noticed that there is a major concern for trash and just like beautification of the neighborhood is very dirty. People who just moved here, they have a habit of littering in front of my house without a problem. And it's the mindset and the culture of like, we don't have to take care of this place even though we live here. That's one of the first things I noticed. Secondly, over a span of 2 years, I've noticed a lot more people standing outside of Home Depot looking for work, and I think that is very alarming because we have our kids outside sometimes, and we just don't know who these people are, these migrants are, and it's just very scary. I noticed crime going up over here. Last night, a young woman was murdered nearby, so it's a lot of different issues, and I think a good representative of the West Ward needs to be able to tackle those issues. And at the same time, I think it's not always the best to focus on the negative, but we need a quality of life here in the West Ward, in my opinion, and it's deteriorating as years go on. Oh, Sheila, you are on mute, so I'm not hearing what you're saying.
she didn't say anything.
Oh, actually, I did. Yeah, she's right. I was
Oh,
on mute. I'm sorry about that. Kadera, some great points. Like please continue. You said somebody got murdered.
Yeah, that's what I saw on South 7th and 14th Avenue. A young woman was found with gunshot wounds. Today is Friday, so I think it was Wednesday or Thursday night. And I don't know much else. I just saw that on the neighborhood app. And so that's alarming, and it's a lot of theft. I mean, theft is the first thing I've experienced over here, which is, understandable because people are in daring times and they need money and things of that sort. So those things need to be addressed. I also would like to see Newark natives be put first because there's a lot of newcomers, including myself, and it feels like the Newark natives are being pushed to the back of the line and not being prioritized, though being here for years, 50 plus years. It's like newcomers come into the city and, you know, it's like the Newark natives are forgotten. And I think that's terrible when it comes to like preserving culture. That's how you kind of lose culture for the city. So, and you kind of lose the respect. And then that's how you have crime go up. So, I would like to see a lot of Newark first, Newark natives put first when it comes to really all issues and all subjects, all topics, or I would say all themes rather. Newark natives should be put first.
Excellent commentary, Kadira. Excellent commentary. We have a lot of concerns here, and like I said, I just want to make sure that I'm using my show and my platform to make sure that the actual people get heard. A lot of times when we have, I'm trying to censor myself for some reason. It's so difficult tonight. We have these meetings, right? When we do, they're not often, but when we do, they're so scripted, and it's like a dictatorship in terms of who can actually speak or whose question can get heard. They do it usually with index cards. So it's like, where do we have the outlet to share who we are, what we're thinking, and what we feel? Even with the city council meetings, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's been a lot of publicity around lawsuits because they're stopping people and censoring them inside of the council chambers. And this is a situation that we're seeing nationwide in different places. We're seeing this situation occur. So, when it comes to Newark, we want to combat these issues. We want to make sure that people understand that Newark is in the house, that Newark is active, and we're not going to, lay down when it comes to us and our city. So, with that being said, I want to bring another person to the stage. Brother Muta. Brother Muta, how are you this evening?
Peace and blessings. How's everything? I'm being dutiful right now. Glad to
Turn
be
it up, Muta. We can't hear
with
you.
you. I said peace and blessings. How's everything? Trying to be dutiful right now.
Peace and blessings, big bro. Peace and blessings. Listen, we're so glad that you can join us. We had some technical difficulties, so we're kind of behind the eight ball. But I've been doing this for some years now, so we can get it crunk really good. So listen, what we're sharing right now, and I'd like to hear from you as a resident. Now, what ward are you representing? Are you representing the West tonight, the South? What ward are you representing right now?
I'm representing the West Ward.
West Ward. Okay, we got West Ward in the house. Listen, Mutar, I want you to share. What do you think of some concerns that you would like to see addressed here in Newark community?
I would like to see more community engagement. So what I see is that a lot of community organizations currently are doing work in the community. However, those organizers don't have access to the resources needed to adequately affect change. You have people bootstrapping and doing the best they can do, and what happens is these communities that they are servicing get underserviced because of nepotism and favoritism.
Can you expound on that a little bit when you talking about favoritism and nepotism? Like, can you just expound on that a little bit?
I for one, I run a community center inside Bradley Court Housing Development. It's a housing development owned by North Housing Authority. They don't put any resources into the community center. So every program, every basketball, every computer, every paperclip that is there has to come out my pocket as an individual. They send in organizations that they pay, that they fund to go there, when they can just fund the organizer that's there. So the programs that they send there are come there for a day, get take pictures and then leave. Never actually servicing the community.
Wow. So, Muta, I do want to mention something that you recently ran for school board election. Can you tell us a little bit about what motivated you to do that?
I ran for school board election because I wanted to. It was sort of like an experiment. I wanted to get firsthand information on what the political stage is like. So I didn't want to. I was tired of playing the.
Wait, you went off, Muta.
Okay, I was tired of playing the backfield and guessing what happens. So a lot of times people would be like, people would tell you, well, your vote don't matter, or this, and not understand the intricacies of districts, of what's the voter, what has been the historic voter turnout, who are the people voting. So these are the things that I want. This is the stuff that I wanted to experience firsthand. So because I definitely want to take things serious.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. So, listen, thank you for joining us this evening. Again, we're going to be using this platform to make sure that we are doing outreach to the actual people in the community. We will not be left out. I just want to mention before I bring my next guest on that we saw an article today. I posted it on my Facebook page and on Instagram. What is going on is that there has been some concerted efforts to keep certain council members out of decisions and meetings that are necessary, right? So that's something that we can't have. So we have to use all of our efforts to make sure, because the injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And if our representatives aren't able to have a voice in what's going on in this city, that's a problem. So with that being said, at this time, I want to bring on Che. Are you with us? Let me see. Is Che with us? I want to bring him to the stage. Hello, Che. How are you?
Sheila, how y'all doing? How is Sheila and panel? How are y'all?
Listen, we're
And
doing
and
well. I
and
want
good
to thank
evening,
you.
listeners.
Listen, I want to thank you first and foremost for joining us tonight. I know that I see some people kind of busy and doing things. I'm going to ask that you guys, if you can, to just give us your full attention. I know that this was kind of last minute because so many things happen at once, and we have to address it as we can. But I do thank you guys for taking out your Friday to join us and having this conversation. And I know that you guys are dedicated. So with that being said, Che, you also wait, first question. Tell us something that you would like to see changed or addressed in the city of Newark. Let's start there.
Oh, I'm in the South Ward resident and
Okay,
panel.
represent South Ward. South Ward in the house.
Thank you. Yeah, and so currently, my experience has always been to help contribute to the South Ward for it to be a better place to live. In that experience and process of being a parent over the last 10 years, I've seen pretty much our city services not be to where they could be. Right now, the city of Newark has about 800 million in their annual budget that they spend on different programs for homeowners, for reentry, for Department of Public Works, and I just feel that Newark is actually a beautiful community, but it's us getting all of the services to all of the residents, and I feel like similar to what Muta said earlier, what we end up having is um, these governmental scenarios where people have ran under a progressive ideology, but we've seen the expansion of government not for the expansion of people. And those services and better experiences, I feel there will come days where all of Newark's 5 wards have better collective experiences.
Right,
And
right.
yeah, that's what
Absolutely.
interests me.
And Che, you also made a decision to run for school board recently. Can you just share with us a brief spill about what made it what motivated you to do that?
Yes, I did recently run for school board as a candidate, and I chose also to follow up on an old opportunity. I'm getting into voiceover, and I have to grow my hair out for a movie part, but that's a whole nother project. The experience of running for school board was a very humbling experience. Win or lose, you meet so many amazing people through the process. It made me grow to understand how diverse Newark is, but then at the same time, it helped me to understand from the Trenton level all the way down to the Newark City Hall level. When you look at Sheila and to the other ladies with you, your colleagues on this amazing panel, when you look at for City of Newark, $1.5 billion spent is structured annually for going into our classroom. $1.5 billion that comes from the state. It comes into the school district, and being a candidate, it helped me to understand that that $1.5 billion could be going a lot further for our boys and girls, or for our nieces and nephews. When we look at the technology gap, or we look at the opportunity gap of the information flowing from grandparents, parents into children, and for us to be able to have a generation of Newark residents who are not leaning toward a criminal life, but are leading toward a leadership life in their families. That's what we're working for, and that's what me and Muta intended to do, was to go and find the forgotten Norker and represent them. And that goes beyond the election day, and it's brought me to being around amazing ladies like yourself and your viewers, Sheila. Sheila, you've mentored several of us into civics, and we're still here. And yeah, that's what I learned through the school board process, Sheila. If I could circle it back,
Yeah, please.
$1.5 billion. It went up in money from those years that y'all were running. It's still in the billions, but now they added another 500 million onto it. And for
Wow.
Newark's population to be around 350,000, 400,000, I think we're somewhere near 350,000. We're one fraction, Sheila, of the 49 million black people nationally. So Newark, what happens nationally is a cause and effect on the conditions in Newark and some of the different class struggles that we currently see. And those
Wow.
class struggles, you ladies, I'm sure, are well aware of the different class struggles that we're currently having.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tonight's show, like I said, it got started off to a rocky start. And this is something, and it's okay because this is what we need to talk about with the community. We are facing levels of censorship that is insane. Like there is just such an epic type of effort that is occurring that is not allowing us to express our voice. Like I said, it's being quelched at the council meetings. When we go live, it seems like it's always an issue. Like my computer always works for no reason. It just wasn't working. But so it gets a little bit zanier than that, right? So tonight we have two guests that are also with us that are not on the screen right now. And these guests are very important because the times that we're in right now, we need to make sure that we have a leadership that has our voice. There are so many efforts going forward to just make the black voice not be here. I think in many ways to make black people not be here, period. And that's something that we could delve into, I'm sure, easily, each and every one of us. But here in the city of Newark, we have representatives for each ward. So when you tell Anibal Ramos, for example, that you don't get to talk, that you don't get to be involved in the decisions, right? On he is council president. You're not just saying that to Anibal, you are saying that to an entire ward of Newark native residents for the most part. And that is unacceptable. It is not normal for all of us to be on the same page at all the time. All the time, there is a such thing as healthy debate. You understand when you debate the issues and not each other, and that's what we want to motivate and foster, and we want to push through any types of censorship that could be possible. And with that being said, I want to see if I could bring on another guest for this evening. Let's see if we could bring her on. Hello, Larisha, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
great. Listen, we're happy to have you back with us. Now, for those of you who don't know Larisha, is for the visitors and the listening audience. Larisha is running for governor of New Jersey. And she's joining us this evening. Okay, it gets better. Larisha is from Dayton Street, okay? Larisha is going to tell you a little bit about herself, and she's given us access to, like, talk with her, just because we're just going to have conversations, and we're going to be inclusive, and we're going to set an energy for that. And she's here to just share with us who she is, what her platform is, what motivated her, what got her here. So we're going to hear her story. And any questions, comments, and concerns that you have, you can put them. And as far as the people home in the listening audience, you're invited to this too. So please post your questions. And with that being said, Larisha, just tell us a little bit about who you are and why you here. What are you doing here? Who are you?
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me on your platform. I am Larisha Speaks. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm an author. I'm also a social justice advocate. Born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. I love my city. My city made me who I was. I received my bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Monmouth University. I have a master's in political science and public affairs, and I decided to go the avenue of helping people. I wanted to help people. Growing up in North, my mother was a correction officer at Northern State Prison. Seeing, her working and being in my city and just loving it, I said, okay, I want to help people, but how can I help? I had to
Right.
pick and choose what can I do, and I decided that I used to watch Matlock. I love Matlock. Uh, Hunter. I used to watch the law enforcement shows, but I didn't want to wear a uniform. I said, okay, I could be a probation officer. So I
Right.
was a social worker for 7 years, and then I was a probation officer for 9. As a probation officer, I saw the corruption. I
Mhm.
saw things that I can no longer accept. So because I saw it in my face, and as a black woman being treated the way I was treated, simply because I was black, I had to do something about it. So I filed a discrimination lawsuit against the New Jersey judiciary in federal court with no attorney. I cannot get an attorney to represent me. The attorneys are licensed by the courts, in the fear of retaliation. They were scared to do it, but I'm from Brick City, so I wasn't. And I
I
filed a
know that's right.
lawsuit against an entire branch of government with no attorney. I was ultimately fired because of that lawsuit. So
Wow.
I filed another lawsuit against the New Jersey judiciary in state court. So I currently have 2 lawsuits against an entire branch of government for discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. And me just seeing how what the corruption was, how they did things, I can complain about it. I can write my congressman. I can say this needs to happen, that needs to happen, or I can be the change I want to see. And I decided to be that change. I really don't feel that there's somebody in office or in running to take office that is willing to help or solve the problem. So I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to attempt to solve the problem.
Awesome. Listen, I love your energy. I love your platform so far and your motivation. And we haven't even spoken about this, but I'm listening to your story, and I see a pattern of when black people get involved, that your jobs seems like it always, becomes a part of the retribution, if you will. And I don't know if everybody has that situation when they get involved, because when you're in school, they say, oh, get involved in government. They tell you now, get involved in what's going on in the community. But when you get involved, it's looking like this is what you have to deal with. Now, this is my first time even listening or talking to you, and there's so many similarities. But tonight I want this to be about you and your platform and what's going on. So we have Larisha. What is your last name again?
Bonds, Bonds.
Larisha Bonds. Make a note of that. She is the gubernatorial candidate for the state of New Jersey. So we have women that are involved, that are doing things, that are getting it done. Now, Larisha, I do want to ask you one question, and then I'm gonna allow our guests to ask you a question as well. So my first question is, what is one thing that you think that should be changed or addressed in the state of New Jersey, or you're from Newark? What is an issue that you feel very passionate about that you would like to see addressed?
I believe it was Quadira said it the first. As a freedman, my ancestors were slaves in this country.
Mhm.
My great grandfather moved to Newark in the 50s, but no, the early before the 50s, maybe the 40s, 50s, to have a better life for his family. And the fact that Black Americans are treated the way they are treated, we are a commodity. They use our bodies as commerce to get money, and we're not protected. We are treated the way we are treated, and everyone knows how Black people are treated. No one is looking at the news and seeing a Black person violated and shocked by that, or seeing the police do something to Black people and shocked, or a Black
Right.
woman being fired or mistreated, or a Black man being discriminated. No, because it's acceptable to treat us this way, and that is unacceptable. And the fact that everybody is going along with it, and me being in my situation where I had to pass the background check, I
Right.
had to, I had to hold myself in a certain standard in order for me to get the job. And not only did I get the job, I worked there for 9 years. But as a Black woman, it still wasn't good enough. Nothing I did, it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with everything with who they were. So
Right.
just understanding that we need to have a serious conversation about this race issue that we're not having. They are allowed to treat us this way. They are allowed to target. It's the judicial branch of government, and no one really looks at it like that. The
Right.
judicial branch of government targets Black people consistently. If you look at the judges, if you look at the police, if you look at the sheriff, if you look at the prosecutors, if you look at the public defender, their job is to treat Black people like they're less than and get away with it simply because they're Black. They wouldn't do this to any other citizens but us because they can. They don't get we get treated this way. There's no justice for us. It's just us. You
Mm.
have a
Mm.
system that finds Black men in prison 40, 20, 10 years for crimes they did not commit.
Right.
Yet we have other individuals who commit murder, who unalive people, and they get found not guilty by
Right.
that
Right.
same system. So
Wow.
we have to really look at that system. And when we say defund the police, it's not just the police, it's the entire criminal justice system that targets Black people.
Right. Right. Okay. So with
And
that
that is
being
an issue
said,
for me.
listen, great stuff. With that being said, I want to turn the questions over to anybody who has a question that is on the panel here tonight for the discussion. Anybody have a question they want to ask to Larisha? I'm gonna start with Muta because Muta looks like he has a question. Okay, so Muta, I think froze up on us. Are you there, Muta? Okay, so we're gonna come back to Muta. Muta is freezing up. Quadira, do you have a question?
I have a lot of questions, but
Am I
for
back?
the first one that comes to mind is,
Can you see me?
do
Can
you
you hear
have
me?
like a? Oh, yeah, we can hear
Muta,
you.
we're gonna come back to you. We're gonna come back to you. Go ahead, Quadira.
Do you have any type of website that we could look at, or any type of like public information that we could look at to see, more about you? And then you are running for governor, correct? And
Yes.
what? And so I think you already answered the question of what made you run for governor. Um, but what are some of the things in the state of New Jersey? I guess I say top three that you would want to see um, changed, specifically for people who live in the city of Newark.
Number one, law enforcement. Law enforcement needs to stop targeting African American, the Black community, Black American freedmen community. In addition to law enforcement, just the judicial branch of government in total, that whole branch of government. We pay people 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, $70,000 a year to watch people who are innocent, but we don't give that money to the kids. He said it's $1 billion budget, but that money is not going to the kids. The kids are still having a reading level that is beyond me. So I'm going to focus on the judicial branch of government. With that, also public corruption, because I believe the criminal justice system is a money laundering scheme that not many people really understand how the money laundering works. You get paid for the more crime you have. So if you have something like a disorderly person's offense, when you go to court, they push it up. Now you're in superior court with a case that you shouldn't even have, based off the fact that they want to have a number to say that you're convicted. So dealing with the criminal justice system, because everyone has to deal with the courts, whether you're innocent or guilty. The cops pull you over and they say you did something you didn't do. Okay, when you go to court, you're innocent, but you got to pay a $30 court fee. So now you have to pay a court fee for not being guilty just because they have a quota to meet. And that affects all our lives. If they tell us we got to be there, we don't have a choice. Also, I want to look at education. Someone who I went to Dayton Street School, Oliver Street School, and Eastside High School. Education is very important to me. When I graduated, my reading level was um, very, very low. It took me a long time to grasp the concept of reading. And I'm not saying I'm proud of it, but with that, I still have a master's degree. I still have a bachelor's degree. So I wanted to let these kids know, like I was told, one person can make a difference. So understanding with education, and it's all around. I used to be a social worker. I was a CMO worker in Newark for Partnership for Children of Essex. And we would have wraparound services that we would put in place for the kids. And when we talk about the services in the community in these things, we don't have any of that. And then we wonder why the community is looking where we're looking at. Why don't we have a community center in Newark that's open 24/7? You have some kids that can't go home. So if you can't go home, why can't the community in the city who's supposed to watch after the community have a place for the kids to go? We'll tell the kids, oh, you got to get off the corner. Being in Newark, you can have a 24-hour community center. Then you know where the kids are. Then you fund it you with social workers. If you could pay the police to unalive people with state-funded bullets, you could pay a social worker to try to help these kids and help them get an education. In addition to that, my third one is homelessness. The homelessness, the housing crisis in New Jersey is ridiculous. The fact that you have to pay a realtor a month and a half rent just to get an apartment, then you have to pay the landlord a month and a half rent is beyond me. You can't tell me, and you have all of these abandoned buildings and empty houses, and the city of Newark can't understand that we're the city, we're supposed to house our residents. Fix these houses up and put your citizens in there. All the citizen can't pay. Okay, so you keep the citizen on the street, but then you're even harassing them for being homeless. Homelessness is a issue for me. Education is an issue for me, and the corruption in the law enforcement, because a lot of the money, a lot of the budget goes to the law enforcement. If we cut that budget in half, we really don't need the police. If we cut that budget in half, and we really say, when we say defund the police, we have to really look at what we're saying. What do we need? We can reinvest that money into other areas that it's needed. But we're going to say, oh, if in what I hate when
Okay, so we're gonna see.
somebody tried to break into my mother's house when she lived, I believe, on Pennsylvania Avenue. She called the police at 10 o'clock at night. No one showed up. She called the mayor office at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the police came. But they will sit there in the news and say, Black people, they need the police. We don't need the police. We can rethink and reimagine the duties of quote unquote police, because I don't know about you, but I don't need somebody with a gun directing traffic for a traffic accident or telling me to go right and go left. Why do you have to have a gun to do that? We have been comfortable with telling people or putting people in charge of our lives in possession of a weapon for these mediocre jobs. That's the Department of Transportation, not the police. If we really think about the everyday task of police officer, and as a person who was a probation officer, my manager literally told us we had to stop letting people in a PTI program because we were not going to have a job. So we couldn't even let people in because, but if they're not committing a crimes and they need to be in this program, why not let them in?
Right.
So I hope I answered your question. I'm
No, you
long
no,
winded.
you had listen. Those responses were great. I feel so passionate about all the things that you were saying, and when you speak to the issues like that, you it really resonates how resilient we are as a people. That we literally have an entire nation. It feels like sometimes like just going against the people instead of us working together. And you hit on so many great points in terms of the court situation. You said something about the courts, like what is your I know you mentioned something about the courts, the hours.
Okay, I'm as a probation officer, we used to work 8:30 to 4:30. And I was talking to when I talk to my clients. Now, again, I'm from Newark. So when I'm talking to people, I'm a relatable person. I'm not better than you. I'm not whatever. So we talk and having
Absolutely.
conversations. It was a lot of people I've encountered who would have to take off of work to go to court, and they would just take a plea deal because they got tired of taking off of work because it's affecting their livelihood, their family. So they would take a plea deal and plead guilty to a charge that they don't have the time or energy to fight just because the court hours are inconvenient. If it's supposed to be we the people, and that's what the Constitution says, we the people need to go to court on other hours. If everybody works a 9 to 5, then why don't they have court open till 8 o'clock at night? We can have some people work 11 to 7 or 12 to 8. As a probation officer, we can come in late shifts because as a parent, me taking my kid to school, okay, you pick them up, I can stay at work. We have to rotate it. With supervision, we do that with supervision. When you want to go for supervision, you can go in and report later if you have a job or whatever. But why the courts? Why is it not convenient for we the people? They have these $1 million courthouses that they like to talk about. They're paying these judges $100,000 or more a year, but it's not convenient for the people because the people can't even go. If I have to take off of work and it's affecting my livelihood to the point where I have to plead guilty, and once you plead guilty to a charge, you are a slave according to the Constitution. So now we're making people slaves simply because the court time is inconvenient.
And so not only that, and I want to pass to another question, but not only that, what you said about the courts, the hours not being convenient for the community, but also you mentioned something about the recreation. And funny that you did, because I just literally last week, I think I made about 15 calls to see why it is at Westside Park that we can't utilize that park, even though it's been done beautifully, but the community don't have access to use it to have community meetings. And what they said is that it costs, but why does the community have to pay for the recreational part to just have a meeting? And so
You
they
pay
said, well,
for it
it's
with your taxes, though. That's the money laundering scheme. They want the community to fund something that the community can't enjoy. That doesn't even make sense. It's
so
like they have these
nobody
policies and
nobody
they're
was
doing
able.
this.
Nobody was able to say why the call just went from this person to that person to another person. And I was trying to establish whether or not it was a non-profit or whether or not it was a LLC, because we need to know, because once upon a time, the community used it for basketball. The kids played basketball in there. We can't even have a meeting now from 7 to 9 because they said, oh, it closes at 6 or 7. They said it's for the seniors during the day. The seniors are there every day. And even if they are every day, people get off, right? The taxpayers, right? We get off around 5, 6. Why can't we have a meeting from 7 to 8? Like, and it's just not
In
going
a
to happen.
facility
And then
that you pay
even
for.
even posing the questions, you're met with animosity. Marlise, do you have a question you like to ask? I can't hear you. If not, it's
Her
okay.
mic is
Yeah.
No, I didn't have a question. I was just listening.
Okay. Yeah. You
Um,
you could just listen. You could just listen. It's
yeah,
fine.
I was just listening. Right now I was listening to her stance on weapons and to her stance on the police and things like that. And I was just trying to figure out her point of view, because it's important to, even if you disagree with somebody's point of view, to be able to listen to them. Nowadays, I feel like in this community, in this era, when you disagree with somebody, you can't have a discussion anymore. And I'm glad that that you open up opportunities to talk about things that you disagree with. So it was just interesting to hear, because I believe from the outside, I never worked in law enforcement, that there is a lot of corruption there. That there is a lot of corruption because they are taking money from places they're not supposed to be taking it, using it improperly, using things the way that they're not supposed to. And we need to hold our leaders accountable. So I agree with her in a lot of points in the corruption. And I wanted to hear what she has to say about a lot of more things. Um, but that was all.
No, that
And
was good. That was good. That was great. Thank you, Marlise. Thank you. Che, do you have anything that you want to say? Anybody have a question? Anybody?
Yeah, I had a question toward the governmental candidate. She touched on some good stuff. When you talked about the courts, when you say PTI, you're talking about the pretrial intervention. And my question to her was, would you expand the pretrial intervention services? Because the reason I bring it up is when I worked with behavioral health in Philadelphia, they had a large framework for community based treatment for juvenile offenders. They were able to, if they didn't have a place to live, the judge had these like court ordered residences that they could get a trade in the daytime, and then they had to, a safe place to stay at nighttime, and we would help them go to and from their their court hearings. We weren't. I was never law enforcement, but we helped them. We helped the kids in our program complete their probation. But in New Jersey, there's not really a lot of programs like that for PTI. And my question is, how would you revamp the PTI, the pretrial intervention? I thought that was interesting. And then the other thing was, with Muta and I just recently running for school board, one of the things that we wanted to do, or we envisioned, was utilizing empty school space. And it made me think of Dayton Street, your old neighborhood. That school used to be an open school, and we have so much school space. How would you utilize unused school space around the state of New Jersey? Because no right or wrong answer, and that was really why I asked. Because currently, Newark Board of Education, we're about to get into a $200 million lease agreement for a new school, and we're about to pay 3 times the amount that it would cost to construct a new school in a lease agreement. So the taxpayer waste is already happening, it's still happening, and as you know, the 49 million African Americans scattered around the country, also us in Newark, we want better conditions and we want strong representation like you. Thank you.
Oh, that
Thank
was
you.
good stuff. That was good stuff. Yeah, I mean, you just touch on it. I know it was a lot, right? Yeah, just
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. So what I did as a probation officer, I completed the pre-sentence reports and I completed the PTI applications. So it was my job to process those. So basically, if you are a first-time offender, if you got into an argument and the police came and it wasn't really a crime or it was a crime, but it was your first time, you have a job, you're holding yourself accountable, you can apply to be in pre-trial intervention. You will be placed on supervision for a period of 1 year to 3 years, and while you was on it, you had to report to a probation officer, hold yourself accountable, do your job, pay your fines, pay your fees. And after 3 years, those charges would be dismissed. So if you can say, have you ever been arrested? You can say no. You would have no case. I'm not going to talk about the corruption, how they were indicting those cases. So once a case is indicted, it can't be dismissed. I'm not going to talk about that corruption. So with the PTI program, I need myself personally, a lot of things that people are being stopped for and being charged with are not crimes. So I'm going to really hold, we have 8 index crimes. And a lot of things people are charged with are not crimes. They are simply charged because they have mental health issues or substance abuse issues. You have a DSM-5 where you have a mental health diagnosis, for example, cannabis dependency or opiate dependency. Then, as a police officer, I'm stopping you the first of the month. I know you get your check. Now I know you have drugs on you. That's a felony arrest. So you are a slave. So why are we stopping people with the known mental health diagnosis for cannabis or opiate dependency? It's a money laundering scheme. You get it in the criminal justice system and you get it in the mental health system. So I'm going to stop stopping people for things that are not crimes. I did approximately 1,000 cases. I was there for 9 years, 100 cases a year, approximately. As a person who's lived in New Jersey, almost my entire life, I went to grad school and other. There is no crime. There's a need for the government to say that they have crime so that they can fudge the numbers. You have people with mental health issues and substance abuse issues being charged. For example, it was 4 boys in a park. One of the boys was selling weed. All 4 of them had a possession charge because of what one did. That is not a crime. Why are you messing up these 3 individuals? Because that one person was selling weed, and weed is now legal, so the government can get paid off of it, but they go after citizens. And of course, 9 times out of 10, if you stop a person between the ages of 18 and 35, 45, they have weed of them, that's $1,000 charge. That is why the state of New Jersey didn't even want to legalize marijuana. because they knew that they were getting these charges every time they stopped. That's why the police pull you over. Immediately, I smell marijuana, whether they smell it or not. That probable cause gives them a right to search, even if it doesn't. And then if they find it, then there's a case. So I would stop the pettiness of having these police. I don't need people. I don't need a person with a gun stopping somebody because you had a tail light out. If you're a police officer, you have equipment in your car where you can get their address. Send a ticket to their ad. You know where they live. Why stop them and engage in this interaction because you have a quota? I'm going to rethink policing because, again, it's supposed to be we the people. Why are you stopping people? And the studies have shown who they stop, and we know why they stop them. So I'm going to literally change the whole idea. Why is it shoot to kill? They had the idea is that these group of people who are Black American citizens or brown people, we can do you however we want to do you because we know the Caucasians don't get treated that way. We know that they're more likely to have drugs on them or commit crimes, but they're not likely to be held accountable for it. So we're going to really change this whole criminal justice, quotas with the Black and brown. In regards to the abandoned buildings in the schools, I feel as though Newark needs community centers and housing. If for North to be the city that it is, we don't have community centers. And when we do have community centers, we don't give the citizens access to it. It's pointless.
Yeah,
I
this
feel
is
as
crazy.
though
Listen, Larisha, I want to just share with you really quick. I've been to community centered meetings where the person had all the paperwork and nobody showed up on that Saturday to even open the door. So you see that there's an oppression here, and I personally have coined these oppressors. The Democratic, what I got it from your show, Muta. I don't know if you know. I've been giving you a lot of accolades for that. Wait a minute, the Democratic, what is it again? I got it right from your show. The
The
Democratic what?
Democratic Mafia.
The Democratic Mafia. Listen, I have adopted that phrase. It is so appropriate. It is so fitting. And I always give you credit for it. The Democratic Mafia. I've been using it as a hashtag also. Look, Risha, this is the issue also with what you said. Like, let's say you got a young man and he gets a PTI, or like you said, a young man, he gets possession because he's with 2 or 3 other guys that smoking weed. Do you realize that this is impeding a lot of our young Black boys from getting the police jobs that are being handed out now like crazy? Like all of the graduating classes that I look at are predominantly either white or Hispanic. And when I said, like, where are the white Black faces? The Black boys don't want to be cops. Like, I mean, it's a good job with benefits. And that's what I found out. A lot of the
it's
guys
deep.
on the street was saying, I did the police test. I scored high. They
It's
said I had an
deeper.
arrest. Look, not a
It's deeper.
conviction.
It's deeper. It's so deeper than that. When you have a CDS charge, you can't even get financial aid to go to school. You can't even, when you fill out the FAFSA form, it asks you, because of these drug crime laws, because of President Biden, if you have a CDS marijuana possession, remember, it's on the schedule. If they ask you when you're filling out the FAFSA form to get federal financial aid, have you ever been convicted? If you've been convicted of it, you cannot get financial aid to even go to school to better yourself. They have put policies in place to keep us conditioned in certain conditions. So it's not just the job, and these jobs, they discriminate against Black people, because what happened after 68, when they had these quote unquote policies, civil rights movement, we can't discriminate against you because of the color of your skin. So now we can do it through law enforcement, through if you have a criminal conviction. And we're going to make sure you're convicted regardless, even if you're innocent, because you're Black. The attorneys, we're going to pay the public the defenders to defend you. They're not really going to defend you. There's going to be a public pretender. The prosecutors are going to go after you. How can these prosecutors go after Black? I mean, think about all the cases where people were charged for crimes they did not commit and they were found guilty. No prosecutor, and they had a prosecutor, a judge, and 9 times out of 10 a public defender. None of them are being held accountable for all of these atrocities that they've done. This system is literally funded. It's $1 billion system off of the backs of Black Americans. I wrote a book about my case because what happens when you take a settlement, you can't talk about what they did to you. And the corruption in my case, Ray Charles can see it. The court order, them illegally incarcerating my nephew because of my lawsuit, them firing me. I documented everything. I did not want to get in a position where just because you give me a check, I can't talk about your corruption. I wrote a book about my case while my cases are still pending. I had a meeting with 2 attorneys today. So my cases are still pending in court right now, but the corruption is real. So I literally risked everything, making sure I wrote a book documenting what they did to me. Because if they did that to me, an educated Black woman, an uneducated person cannot stand a chance. So I had to sound the alarm. I did a book and 2 documentaries on it because I understand how this was not just for me, but for my people. Every citizen in the state of New Jersey, my case is in federal court and state court. What happened to me is a wake-up call, not just to me. Every person in the state of New Jersey need to be like, now, if the court did this to her, remember when I had this and remember when they did this? Everybody should be asking questions. And I work in the county that Asana Shakur has a court order out for her arrest right now. Right now, the state of New Jersey has a warrant for Asana Shakur. That's the same county I worked in, Middlesex County. It's 2 other Black women besides me suing. I'm not the only one. And one other Black woman has worked there since 1995. They fired her because her doctor did not medically clear her to return to work. I uncovered a money laundering scheme where Black state employees, I've been contacted by several Black state employees in regards to the fact that the state of New Jersey brings you up on departmental charges and find you guilty because they can. That's a money laundering scheme. Not because you're guilty, but because we know as a Black person working for the state, we can bring you up on these departmental charges. And not only does it affect your income while you're working, it affects your pension because your pension is based on your highest 3 years. But if I brought you up on false departmental charges, you never make your highest 3 years. So I understand the implications of my case for the scheme of everything. And it was that important to me to get it out, what was done to me. And
Right.
I called the FBI.
And listen, I'm glad you're staying the course. And a lot of times, and I just want to go back to a question that Kadira asked earlier about your website. And the thing is that I think that if I could just comment on that, I think that we are conditioned because I remember running for office and people would ask me that question. And I would always think like, how am I getting a website and all of these things? Who's paying for that? Because we have candidates that APAT, different people, organizations who what you're describing is what uh racism looks like in America. If these organizations are donating and supporting campaigns of people who we see ignoring us when we come to the council meeting, we don't have access to them, they don't allow us to talk, we our computers get messed with somehow when we try to do events like this. And so there's always something that happens when we go to the recreational space, even though we have the documents and no one comes to open the door. So we know that that's what racism looked like. And when you say they took your job or they took my job or they're taking Muta's job, and it's crippling you financially so that we cannot unify, so that we cannot fight back together. And that's why we must.
And
That's why
that
we
is
must.
exactly them firing me because they put an illegal court order on me and basically said that my nephew, who they illegally incarcerated, I cannot talk about the case that happened with him. And I knew that court order was illegal. So I went to I got an attorney afterwards and I said, can you file a motion to have this court order removed? My attorney said the court order was removed when you got fired. I said, no, baby, I know how white supremacy works. I know that I'm going to be singing it like Tony Braxton. And when I get out here talking, I don't want them come to me with criminal charges saying you had a court order against you when you was talking. My attorney filed a motion. The judge said the court order was moot. Is no longer in place. You were fired. The Middlesex County prosecutor filed the motion to keep the court order in place, even though I no longer work there. And then kept telling me consistently, this is confidential. You can't talk about it. It's confidential. I told him respectfully, crimes are not confidential because if I was digging the dude who sold drugs, you will lock me up and throw away the key as an accessory after the fact. Okay. And I could not even know he did it. The crimes that I witnessed, I have a right to report on those crimes. And they were trying to silence me by telling me that I had to keep what was done to me confidential. I'm from the streets. You can't. I dug bullets as a kid. I don't respect their gangster. Like you say, the Democratic Mafia. Boo boo. I'm from Seth Borton. Like, no, I'm not going to keep your crimes
That part.
confidential.
That part.
So
Listen,
what I
Larisha,
did, I
let me
do have
switch.
a website for my business. My
Larisha,
website,
listen.
my name is Larisha Speaks.
Larisha,
Because I
Larisha. Pause.
yes,
Listen, wait, don't go anywhere. Really quick, just to switch it up a little bit. What are your thoughts on Sanctuary City?
I believe it needs to be re-examined because we have to look at the initial purpose of sanctuary cities and what is happening right now. Is this being used the way it was intended purposes, or is it being abused? And if we are giving these services to citizens or individuals who don't pay taxes, we cannot disrespect the citizens that do pay taxes. Because I'm not a hater, I'm a participator. So if you're going to give food stamps and housing, where are my food stamps and my housing at? Where are the food stamps and the housing for my citizens and the people? We need to be demanding what they getting, and we're complaining the fact that they're getting it. I'm from the Ironbound section. I went to East Side. Several different races, all the people. If you could get whatever it is you getting, get it. But you're going to go ahead and give me mine while you're in the process. You're not going to leave me out for the simple fact that I was born here when I have the opportunity to get it.
Hmm. Okay, so her computer has frozen up. So I'm
Hey,
gonna
hurt.
yeah, I'm gonna just I guess I'm gonna pause her for a minute. Well, I don't know if I need to pause her because she's frozen. But thoughts.
I like how she described the public defender as a public pretender, and the fact that she mentioned that there are a lot of cases in court that are shouldn't be there. Like there's a lot of phantom laws and phantom things that you can turn your head sideways and that's illegal kind of situation. So I appreciate that and I like that. Sometimes we need less laws and less government to survive. I wanted to ask her when she comes back the title of the book or something, where we can get that, and the title of the documentary so I can see, that perspective. Um, and I wanted to mention also that a lot of the problems that we're having, they start at home. They start because we don't have a proper foundation. We don't have mom and dad and taking care of us. We usually have the single mother that's absent because she has to work and they're abandoning their children in the schools, and we don't have that proper nourishment that we should have from a mother and a father, um, because of the way that it's being designed, the way that the system is screwing us over, basically. And that was my comment for now.
That was awesome. Thank you, Marilise. Anybody else thoughts?
Yes. I wanted to chop it up and ask her, what's her thoughts on reparations, because I definitely heard her speak about the historic damage that's been going on, especially when we're talking about through the legal system. I myself was arrested 5 times prior to me even picking up a drug to go sell a drug. And what I realized is that we were hunted. So they would pay these grown adult white men or black men that were down, they would pay them and even give them bonuses depending on how many back bodies they snatched up. So, at the end of the year, the police would celebrate and, people would get raises based upon how many arrests they got in our community. However, a lot of us weren't drug dealers at first. What happens is when I come outside and I'm forced to run because I will be arrested, like she said, regardless or not, because if one person has drugs, everybody's going to catch a drug charge. So if I'm coming out and I'm in a neighborhood where I have 50 friends, and in a place like Seth Boyd, or in a place like Bradley Court or Little Bricks or any housing project, you typically have a lot of people in a small area. So there's no escaping that. This isn't a matter of individual decision making. This is a matter that the state sanctioned the removal of young black kids, or set us up to get to have criminal histories, and that follows us. So dealing with reparations, understanding that it's important because harm has already been done. So when you're talking about where we intend to go, we in a place right now where we can't sustain a household. The homeless, we have a housing tsunami right now. We have an eviction tsunami going on right now, and a lot of the black men, we getting ostracized, dehumanized, because we can't afford to pay these outlandish rents and hold down these households. So, right now I'm looking at it and I'm saying, like, well, if this trend continues, it's going to get ugly. So how do we get ahead of this? How do we start pushing for reparations for the past? I understand programs need to happen for as we move along, but we got to understand that a lot of harm has been done, and it's it's harm that we can't. We're not going to be able to bootstrap our way. I mean, I know there's some individuals that can make it, but systematically, we're not going to be able to bootstrap our way out of this. We definitely going to need some support, if that makes any sense at all.
I love what you said. Love the commentary. Let's be clear. There will be no support unless we support each other. There, something else you said. I want to just piggyback off of the hunted piece. That's deep and it's real. And there are people who walk around every day saying, "Oh, there's no racism. There's no racism." This is what you call racism. In fact, let me give you a couple of examples of what you call racism. This is racism when we have a show that we pay for StreamYard to do and it gets interfered with. It's racism when my computer, for no reason, is not functioning. And it's the reason why I put my show on pause, because it was always those types of issues when we went live. This is racism when we have a gubernatorial candidate on our show that is a black woman and she get booted off and she doesn't know why. And then I'm going to tell you what else is racism. When I sign up to run for Congress and I bring my signatures in, but I'm not on the thing to run for Congress. There is no reason for that. But we saw a pattern of behavior. So what we did, I'm going to share this with the audience because we're about to land this plane. What we did was we had a plan B, because I figured that they was going to try something with me. So we have another candidate that is going to be running against LaMonica McIver, and that candidate's name is Michelle Middleton. Michelle Middleton tried to get on here twice tonight. I want to show you what she saw when she got on. She was on here for 5 minutes and she got kicked off, because we're going to see today exactly what racism looks like. So even though I gave her the same link that you guys have and you're on here, I want you to see. Can y'all see this? This is what she got from a Wi-Fi and a computer that she literally uses every single day. Every single day. She went to somebody else's house and got a similar message. So again, this is what racism looks like. This is what censorship looks like. This is what the Democratic, what was that word again?
Democratic mafia.
The
Mafia.
Democratic mafia. Now, is this our Democrats? Of course not. But listen, we do have a strong group of Democratic mafia that we cannot deny at this point that are really working against us, and it's oppressive and it's real. You hear, the commonality about these the PTI. I thought the PTI was something that saved young men's reputation in terms of law, that they could get jobs and stuff. But lo and behold, it's not. Again, with the marijuana legislation, it's loopholes, so it doesn't always pan out the same. So we have these things working against us, and like I said, I just commend each and every one of you for just sticking this thing out. I mean, Dara is new amongst us, but she's definitely a West Ward person for sure. She's very active. She's very passionate. She cares about the place that she's raising her kids in. And I'm going to tell you something else that we have to watch out for. We have a West Ward candidate. I mean, a West Ward councilman, Dupree Kelly. Um, he ran against Michelle Middleton in the last Westwood election. And right now, what has just happened, he literally got, I'm going to use the word that Marilee's used, a phantom home buyer and bought a home directly
Phantom.
next to Michelle.
That word phantom. That word phantom laws, phantom politics.
Yeah, like literally this week, he bought a home with a phantom owner next to Michelle Middleton. And now all of a sudden, she's not able to use her Wi-Fi. So these are the games that if they get played with one person, they get played with another person. Now, am I saying that that's exactly what happened? Of course not. But I'm just telling you exactly what happened. So we can draw conclusions, whether they're fallacies or not. But when you see a pattern of behavior, right? When you see circle, triangle, square, you got to figure at some point, right, that there are some oppressive entities that are moving against us. When we see that the West Ward candidates forum had 6 to 8 candidates, I think it was 6, you guys can correct me, who were phenomenal. Michelle was one who really knew the issues, like the young lady we had on tonight for gubernatorial. She knew the issues. Other people did a great job. And this is not personal. Do It All did not do a great job only because he doesn't know politics. But we got to look at it because Do It All is a nice person. I'm not gonna say anything bad about his person. I'm just talking from a business standpoint. He didn't know anything about politics, and he said that out of his own mouth. So what powers that be put him in a position, because it wasn't the people, put him in position that he is the Westward councilman with absolutely no political acumen. And we've seen this over and over again, not just in Newark, but in other urban communities, again, under this Democratic mafia. And it is time, with that being said, that we start to consider other candidates, that we start to consider not always putting all of our eggs in one basket, supporting that in which is not supporting us. And I know that there are a lot of Black people, good, hardworking Black people who mean well from their heart, who are truly, intentionally just good, nice people, integral, moral people who have this line A all the way mentality. And you got to wake up and see what it is. See it for what it is. They have turned their back on us, literally. Literally. And if you can't see it, you must not have eyes, because I think a blind man can see it. But with that being said, I want to pass the mic to Muta and say just congratulations to you, because you are definitely a woke person in our community. And I commend you. I respect you as a man to step out and do what you've been doing. I saw what you've done with the hats. Can you tell us a little bit about the event that you have coming up? Because I've seen you passing out flyers and promoting something.
Absolutely. Thank you. This Sunday, September 22nd, we're going to be having a Make Newark Great rally. This Make Newark Great rally is not so much about Trump, is about the censorship that everybody is faced with right now in this climate when mentioning anything about policy. Anything about show me the proof. Where are we going? Where is the evidence that you've thought about where you want to go? If you ask a question right now, you're getting ostracized, you're getting talked about, possibly even fired.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's fair, and I want to create a safe space that people are able to have those conversations with community members, and without the threat of losing it all. Because if you go on social media and you have an opinion, everybody automatically turns against you if it's not their opinion. So we want to make sure that in order to move this great city forward, that we are getting all perspectives. We want to make sure that those people that want to get engaged are able to get engaged and that they are heard. Right now, our situation is that we only hear one side, and that same side that we hear is the side that keeps on smacking us. So I'm not a glutton for pain. So after a while, a person keeps hitting me. I
Right.
don't want to hear what they're saying. I don't want to hear what they're saying anymore.
Right.
So that's what I've had. So, when people hear what I'm saying, I'm like, oh, some people get, when you say make North great, they think of Trump or whatever the case may be. This is more so about being anti-democratic.
Right.
And
Absolutely. 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 Listen, Muta, do you have any plans? You may not yet. You are chair. I would like to know, do you guys have any plans to run for school board? And before you answer, I want to share something that was shared with me today. I've become in receipt of information, and I'm going to tell you because I want you guys to help investigate it to find out what's going on. That there's over $33 million that has been spent on cameras in school that can literally just tell you what somebody is saying, that can read your words right off your mouth. And this $33 $33 billion project. I'm sorry, no, is it billion? 33 million. I apologize. $33 million project for these cameras are coming on the heels of people for years complaining about not having air conditioning in the school, a lot of repairs not being done in the school. And the troubling part of this, right, is that these cameras are supposed to be monitored. And I'm hearing that the whole project was said to not go forward. It was directed not, but it's going forward. And the cameras are scheduled to be monitored. Get this, in the personal home of Superintendent Roger Leon. That is extremely troubling. Absolutely, Marilease, your face. $33 million project for cameras in every school, and it's being monitored in the private home of the superintendent. So we're going to be receiving some
It fits their
information. I'd
narrative.
like to hear your thoughts on that. And Che, we'll go to you. Marilease has to go, but Marilease, we will bring you back because we're going to continue having these conversations. We will not be put aside. So Marilease has to do something, and we'll talk to you again. Thank you for joining us, Marilease.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, sorry, I went too fast there. Che, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say that $33 million for the those cameras. First off, is completely unconstitutional. They never ran that past the parents, and that was one of the major contracts they passed right after they got the new school board in there. But it touches on the historical definition of progressive in a classical definition, and this new administrative progressive dynamic that we've seen since, I would say, I was about in first grade when Bill Clinton was in office. You had the mass incarceration piece.
Right.
Then we have right now the migrant piece. In the 70s, it was the expanding the welfare state. So just because somebody says that they're a progressive um, person or platform, if they're not tearing down a governmental structure, usually progressive expand the size of government, but it's supposed to be able to expand people power. What we've seen progressives do in the Democrat Party, not all Democrats, but we've seen it happen, particularly with like the example of, say, the Clinton Foundation. They've raised an extremely high level amount of money, but we see at the state level, black women are marginalized, black men are marginalized. It's still a fight for quality education across all 50 states. So both progressive and conservative are not off the table for racist systems to come into um, the dynamic. With that being said, this is nothing more. This camera, this $30 million camera matter, is nothing more than the expansion of a progressive agenda presented to Newark in a non-democrat fashion. So we could call it Democrat mafia, or if you look at it over a 50-year period, you'll see that black people were already sustaining themselves before the progressive agenda, or what's called progressive. Most people think it's revolutionary, but it's complete. It's a new derivative away from where we were in a black power sense and in a cultural sense. And we're seeing now an administrative progressive state where you have $30 million contracts, and the Clinton Foundation has almost $1 billion in their international foundation.
Yeah, and so I think that's a problem also, that the amount of money that filters into Newark per se, um, it doesn't transcend into students learning, right? We don't see that in the test scores. We don't see that in any form. I don't see that. And so we want to know where this money is going. We want to talk more to the gubernatorial candidate that sat with us tonight. We are definitely going to have the candidate on who's running against LaMonica McIver in the November election. Again, these are people from Newark. These are people who understand our plight. When you say,
Now that Michelle is a pragmat, she's a problem solver. That Michelle
absolutely,
is a
absolutely. But listen, Cherry, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait to bring her on because she came on tonight. She got kicked off, and for some reason, over and over, she wasn't able to join us, but she will be able to because we're gonna stay locked in. And it doesn't matter if she checks in at 1 o'clock in the morning and wants to rock. We're gonna cook for sure because we cannot lay down. We just can't. These issues are way too big. They're way too important. And so I want to also plug in that we're having an event on October the 5th at Lincoln Park. For those of you who can attend, for those of you who want to be a part of it, contact me personally and I'll make that happen. But I decided to give an event for Trump, right? To teach and talk about the issues around immigration and the safety, our safety here in the United States, issues pertaining to our economy. I'm not concerned with who is a woman and who is black when I'm raising a black son. Okay. Those are not my primary concerns. I want to make sure that he's safe. I want to make sure that he's not walking down the street and getting attacked by Venezuelan gang members who are hardened, who just came out of prison from Mexico or wherever. There are some issues that we need to deal with, and we need to talk about those issues, not the person. Kamala is Kamala. I'm sorry because I don't mean to mispronounce her name. Kamala is not on the ballot. Trump is not on the ballot. Those policies are what's on the ballot. And there wasn't a time too long ago where black women, maybe unknowingly, but turned their backs on what black men were saying when it came to that liberation movement. We did not listen, and we're in the worst situation as ever. Our families are not what they need to be. People have a hard time finding relationships. The men are blaming the women are blaming the men, but we didn't have those problems, and we allowed those problems to enter our space. And we need to look at right now, while the majority of men in urban America is supporting Trump. And we're talking about the policies, not the person. So you can't tell smart people, right? You can't tell critical thinking people that, oh, but what about the ad he took out? None of these parties are perfect. This is what we have to choose from. And the ad that he took out does not compare, even in the most raw situation that it is, does not compare to the hundreds and thousands of black men that Biden has jailed under that administration, under that crime bill. It does not compare. And we need to look at the facts. We need to make some decisions, and then we need to work together to get solutions. So our gubernatorial candidate got kicked off. So we're going to find out if she needs help with websites. We're going to raise the money for that. We're going to see what it is that Michelle needs, if she needs anything, and we're going to pool our funds together. And we have to make sure that candidates such as Muta Elamine, right? Shay Coulter, Phil Wilson. These are dads in the community who ran on strong platforms to make sure that our kids were able to be academics and or have a skill, a trade or a skill set that, again, they can make money in this capitalistic society, which is something else that with the fiat just nearly dead. We're on the precipice of war, and you guys want to talk about goofy stuff. We're not going to do it. And if I see it on my thread, I'm blocking you because we're not entertaining that nonsense. We're not entertaining the line A all the way. We're not entertaining the Democratic mafia. We are the people. We are the stakeholders. We are the ones that have the kids. We are the ones that buy the houses, send the kids to school. You wouldn't have a school if our kids wasn't coming. You know, we're voting for people in an election, and we're paying taxes, and we're dealing with taxation without representation, while the immigrants are here. They're getting representation, they're getting voting rights, they're getting a whole lot of things that we're not getting, and we want to make sure that everybody's being treated fair. Kadira, do you have any last minute thoughts for this evening?
I don't, but this was a great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And Che and Mutai as well. I appreciate you guys. As likewise, I appreciate our listening audience. Please stay tuned in with us as we continue to have these discussions. If anybody has information that they want to share pertaining to what we talked about, feel free to reach out. I don't mention names. I don't reveal my sources. If you have information and you have proof, we're going to investigate it, find out what's going on, and we'll bring it to the awareness of our community. And it's about being solution orientated. We're not here to start any problems with people. We don't want any problems with people. But what we do want is liberation. What we do want is our children educated. What we do want is a system that works for not just one group of people, but for all. With that being said, thank you for joining W.A.G.E this evening, and until next time, everybody. Peace.
Miss Monica, can I ask you one question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Before we go, I apologize. How are I would like to propagate the November 5th this October 5th event. So I probably won't be able to be there, but right now I'm walking around a lot. So I want, if people might not be able to make my event. So I like this, this thing people got to know what's going on.
Okay. Listen, I'm excited. Let's talk.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Town, a 14-year-old boy with a record of drug arrests was shot and killed. It was the 10th fatal shooting or stabbing in Newark in 10 days.
Another deadly shooting investigation is underway tonight in Newark. This comes after a wave of violence erupted.
First, let me introduce y'all to the mayor, and I'm saying mayor because that's what it is. Some call me Sheila or Silver Bullet, just know I'm all about handling biz. First, we're gonna start by saving the kids, making the city a safe place to live. Unlike some people, that's all about self. My only mission right now is to give. And now it's feeling like Resident Evil with all of these fake political leaders. They need to go sit in the bleachers and just stay motivational speakers. Being the mayor is not for the weak. Got my feet on the ground and I'm out in these streets. You can show me with action, it's not what you speak. Say you for the city ain't beat. Lit the city on fire, we're walking through ashes. Parents are tired of giving you passes. Why are our children not learning in classes? Teach about businesses, real estate taxes. Fighting to keep low income housing. So much corruption, it's astounding. Team Newark, we can't allow that. And there ain't no way to get around that. Nothing but change when you vote for me. Time to get back where we supposed to be. Open the door, open the door.